Okay, imagine this. Right now, sitting inside your skull, is the most powerful supercomputer in the known universe. More powerful than any iPhone, faster than any NASA rocket, and smarter than any AI. But here's the kicker. You're probably only using a fraction of what it can really do. What if I told you your brain has hidden superpowers? Abilities that can help you learn faster, focus deeper, control your emotions, even shape the way you see reality. And most of us never tap into them. Stick with me, because in the next 20 minutes, we're going to unlock those powers, one by one. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. This might just change how you think about your own mind forever. Welcome to InnerVerse. Let's dive in. Alright, so here's the deal. Most people think the brain is fixed. Like once you hit adulthood, that's it. You're stuck with whatever memory, focus, or skills you've got. But science has completely flipped that idea on its head. Your brain, it's not static, it's alive, constantly rewiring itself, which means it's not about what you're born with, it's about what you train. Think of it like this. Your brain is kind of like a muscle. You don't just wake up one day and bench press 200 pounds, right? You train, you grow, you adapt, and your brain works the same way. It grows stronger the more you challenge it. And that ability has a name, neuroplasticity. And this is your first hidden superpower. Let's break it down. Okay, picture this. A man suffers a massive stroke. Doctors say he'll never walk or talk again. But a few months later, he's standing on his own 2 feet, speaking in full sentences. What changed? His brain literally rewired itself. That's neuroplasticity in action. It's the brain's hidden power to adapt, heal, and grow, no matter your age. For decades, scientists thought once you hit adulthood, your brain was like wet cement that hardens and stays the same forever. But turns out, it's more like clay. It keeps reshaping itself every time you learn, practice, or even just think in new ways. Now, here's where it gets exciting. Every single time you practice something, whether it's learning guitar, speaking Spanish, or just remembering people's names, you're carving new trails in your brain. Imagine a forest. The more you walk the same path, the clearer and faster it gets. That's what happens in your head. And here's the twist. You don't need massive lifestyle changes to make this work. Your brain doesn't care about perfection, it cares about repetition. Small, daily actions build stronger connections than once in a while big efforts. So here's the challenge for you. Think of one thing, just one, that pushes you slightly outside your comfort zone. Maybe it's saying hi to a stranger, maybe it's practicing guitar for 10 minutes, maybe it's journaling 1 page. Doesn't matter how small it feels. Do that one thing daily, and you're literally sculpting your brain into a sharper version of you. And that brings us to the next hidden superpower, because once your brain starts rewiring, the real question becomes, what are you focusing all that power on? Because focus, that's where things get interesting. Superpower 2, focus and attention. The brain spotlight. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you're at a loud party, music blasting, people talking, chaos everywhere. But then, someone across the room says your name. Instantly, your brain locks in like a spotlight shining on just that sound. That's the power of selective attention. Out of all the noise, your brain can zoom in on what matters most. Here's the science. Psychologists call it the attentional spotlight. Your brain is constantly filtering millions of bits of information every second. What you notice, what you learn, even what you remember, it all depends on where that spotlight is pointing. But here's the problem. In today's world, that spotlight keeps flickering. Notifications, TikToks, endless scrolling. Studies show the average person checks their phone 96 times a day, basically every 10 minutes. That constant switching, it's like trying to read a book while somebody keeps flipping the channel on your TV. No wonder we feel distracted, anxious, or unproductive. Now here's the twist. Just like a muscle, focus can be trained. And when you train it, you unlock insane levels of productivity and creativity. Think about it. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in history came from people who could tune out the noise and lock in on one idea for hours. Bill Gates literally takes think weeks, where he disappears into a cabin with nothing but books and ideas. That's how some of Microsoft's biggest innovations were born. So how do you train your spotlight? Here's a hack. Try the Pomodoro technique. Set a timer for 25 minutes, pick one single task, and go all in. When the timer rings, take a 5-minute break. Do that 4 times, and you've just done 2 hours of deep, focused work, the kind most people drag out for an entire day. And here's another one. Guard your focus like it's money, because it is. Next time you sit down to work, put your phone in another room, not just face down, not on silent, literally in another room. Why? Because just seeing your phone has been shown to reduce focus, even if you don't touch it. The truth is, focus is your brain's currency. Spend it on distractions, and you go broke. Invest it wisely, and you buy back your time, your creativity, and your peace of mind. And speaking of peace of mind, that takes us to the next hidden superpower, the ability to actually manage your emotions instead of being controlled by them. Superpower 3, emotional regulation, mastering your inner weather. Let me give you a scene. 2 people are stuck in the exact same traffic jam. One is pounding the steering wheel, yelling, stress levels through the roof. The other, same situation, but they're calm, listening to a podcast, sipping coffee, totally unbothered. Same traffic, different brain response. What makes the difference? Emotional regulation. Here's the science. When you feel a strong emotion, anger, fear, anxiety, the amygdala, your brain's alarm system, goes off. That's great if you're running from a bear. Not so great if it's just an email from your boss. But your prefrontal cortex, the rational, decision-making part of your brain, can step in and calm the amygdala down. The better you get at that, the more control you have over your emotional world. And get this, research shows that simply labeling your feelings can literally reduce their intensity. In MRI studies, when people said out loud, "I feel anxious" or "I feel angry," their amygdala activity dropped. It's called name it to tame it. Think of it like turning down the volume on your emotional storm. Here's a hack you can try right now. Next time you feel stress building up, pause and label it. Say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed." That simple act pulls the emotion out of autopilot and gives your brain space to respond instead of react. Another hack, breathing. Yeah, I know it sounds cliche, but controlled breathing directly influences your nervous system. Try this. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, then exhale slowly for 6. Do that for just 2 minutes and watch your heart rate slow, your shoulders drop, your brain clear. It's like hitting the reset button on your body. The truth is, emotional regulation doesn't mean you never feel negative emotions. It means you learn to surf the waves instead of being drowned by them. That's why Navy SEALs use these techniques under extreme stress, and why regular people can use them to handle everything from job interviews to family drama. So, here's the takeaway. Emotions are like weather. You can't stop the storm from coming, but you can carry an umbrella, you can find shelter, and sometimes you can even dance in the rain. That's the power of emotional regulation. And once you learn to regulate your emotions, you unlock the next hidden superpower, using your mind to shape reality before it even happens. That's the power of visualization. Superpower 4, visualization. Practicing success before it happens. Let me give you a story. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian of all time, didn't just train in the pool. Every night before he went to sleep, and every morning when he woke up, he visualized every stroke of his race. The water, the turns, even the feeling of his goggles filling with water if they broke. So, when that exact thing happened during a real Olympic final, his goggles filled up, he still won gold. Why? Because he had already lived that race thousands of times in his head. Here's the science. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between vivid imagination and real experience. When you imagine yourself practicing something, many of the same neural circuits fire as if you were physically doing it. That means visualization isn't daydreaming, it's mental rehearsal, and athletes, CEOs, even military units use it to perform under pressure. Here's a simple way you can try it. Pick something important coming up, a presentation, a workout, even a conversation you're nervous about. Close your eyes and run the scene in your head like a movie. But here's the key. Make it vivid. What do you see? What do you hear? How does it feel? The more senses you engage, the stronger the effect. Another hack. Don't just visualize the outcome, visualize the process. Don't just see yourself holding the trophy. See yourself putting in the reps, staying calm, making the right choices along the way. That way, when the real moment comes, your brain feels like it's been there before. The wild part? Studies show that people who combined visualization with real practice improved almost twice as much as those who only practiced physically. It's like doubling your training time without ever leaving your chair. So, whether it's crushing a job interview, running a marathon, or just having the confidence to walk into a room, you can start practicing success before it even happens. And speaking of being in the zone, that leads us to your next hidden superpower, the ability to slip into a mental state where time disappears, creativity explodes, and performance goes through the roof. I'm talking about flow. Superpower 5, flow states. Unlocking the zone. You've probably felt it before. Maybe you were gaming and suddenly 3 hours vanished. Maybe you were painting, writing, or even coding, and everything just clicked. You weren't thinking, you were just doing. Psychologists call this state flow, but most people know it as being in the zone. Here's the science. When you enter flow, your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals, dopamine, norepinephrine, endorphins, that sharpen focus, boost creativity, and make the experience deeply rewarding. It's like your brain's version of performance-enhancing drugs, but natural. In fact, studies show people in flow can be 5 times more productive. That's why elite athletes, musicians, and even surgeons rely on it. So, how do you unlock it? Flow doesn't happen by accident. It has triggers. The first trigger is clear goals. You need to know exactly what you're doing and what done looks like. The second is immediate feedback, whether it's hearing the notes as you play guitar or seeing words appear as you write. The third is the right level of challenge. Not too easy, not too hard, but just at the edge of your skill. That sweet spot pushes your brain to engage fully without tipping into frustration. Here's a hack. Next time you sit down to work, set up for flow. Block out distractions. Pick one task with a clear finish line. Push yourself just enough to feel challenged. Then, dive in for at least 90 minutes. Because flow usually takes about 15 minutes to kick in, and the real magic happens once you're past that. Think of it like surfing. You can't control when the perfect wave comes, but you can paddle out and be ready to ride it. The more often you create the right conditions, the more often flow finds you. And here's the real kicker. Flow isn't just about productivity. It's one of the most powerful sources of happiness. When people look back on their most fulfilling moments in life, those times when they felt alive, connected, unstoppable, most of them were in flow. So yeah, flow isn't just a state of mind, it's a doorway to peak performance and deep joy. And speaking of peak performance, there's another hidden superpower your brain is hiding, one that makes the impossible possible, a memory system far stronger than you think. Superpower 6, Memory Superpowers, the mind's filing system. Here's a crazy story. Every year, there's a competition called the World Memory Championships. Competitors can memorize the order of a shuffled deck of 52 cards in under 2 minutes. Some can remember thousands of random digits or entire pages of text after seeing them once. Sounds like superhuman ability, right? But here's the twist. They weren't born that way. They trained their brains using techniques anyone can learn. So, what's the secret? It's not about having a photographic memory. The brain doesn't really work like a camera. Instead, these memory athletes use strategies that play to the brain's strengths: visuals, emotions, and associations. One of the oldest and most powerful is the method of Loci, also called the memory palace. Here's how it works. Imagine your home, your kitchen, your living room, your bedroom. Now, instead of just making a grocery list, you place each item inside those rooms in a vivid, almost ridiculous way. Eggs? Picture a giant egg cracking open on your couch. Milk? Imagine your bedroom flooded with milk. Bread? See loaves popping out of your toaster like fireworks. The crazier the image, the more your brain latches onto it. Here's the science. Our brains are wired to remember locations and stories far better than random numbers or words. By turning boring information into a mental map filled with images, you hack your memory's natural filing system. So, here's your hack to try today. Next time you need to remember a list, Whether it's groceries, points for a presentation, or even names at a party, build a quick memory palace. Walk through a space you know well in your mind, and place each piece of information somewhere along the path. Then, when you need to recall it, you just walk the path in your head, and the items pop back into your mind. The truth is, your memory isn't weak, you just haven't been using it the way it was designed. With the right techniques, you can store and recall far more than you ever thought possible. And that brings us to the next hidden superpower, one that isn't just about remembering the past, but about how you bounce back and reshape the future. Resilience. Superpower 7. Resilience and post-traumatic growth. Bouncing back stronger. Now, memory is about holding on to the past, but resilience, that's about reshaping the future. And here's the wild thing. Your brain isn't just built to survive tough times, it's designed to come back even stronger. Let me give you a story. After 9/11, psychologists studied survivors and first responders who faced unimaginable trauma. Yes, some struggled with PTSD, but many also showed what scientists call post-traumatic growth. Instead of being broken by hardship, they discovered deeper meaning, stronger relationships, and a sharper sense of purpose. In other words, the storm didn't just pass, they grew roots during it. Here's the science. Resilience isn't about being unshakable. It's about how fast your brain and body recover after stress. When you face challenges, your brain's stress response kicks in, cortisol, adrenaline, the whole fight-or-flight package. But resilience is like a muscle. The more you practice bouncing back, the faster you return to baseline. And sometimes you don't just bounce back, you bounce forward. That's post-traumatic growth. So, how do you train resilience? Here are a couple hacks backed by science. Number 1, reframe the story. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Shift to, what can I learn from this? Your brain literally rewires based on the questions you ask it. Number 2, micro challenges. You don't need life-shattering trauma to build resilience. Cold showers, tough workouts, or even speaking up in a meeting when you'd rather stay silent. These small stressors teach your brain, I can handle discomfort and recover. Number 3, connection is fuel. Humans are wired for community. Studies show that people with strong social support networks recover from adversity far faster. It's not weakness to lean on others, it's biology. And here's the kicker. Resilience isn't about avoiding cracks, it's about what you do with them. Think about Japanese kintsugi pottery, the art of repairing broken bowls with gold. The cracks don't disappear, they're highlighted, and the piece becomes even more valuable than before. That's what your brain can do with hardship. So, the next time you face a setback, remember, it's not the end of the story. It might actually be the beginning of your strongest chapter yet. And speaking of growth, that takes us to your brain's final hidden superpower, the one that ties everything together, the ability to find meaning and purpose. Superpower 8, meaning and purpose, the compass of the mind. We've talked about rewiring your brain, sharpening focus, mastering emotions, unlocking flow, boosting memory, and bouncing back from setbacks. But all of those superpowers point toward one final, deeper ability, the brain's power to find meaning and purpose. Here's the thing. Humans aren't built just to survive. We're wired to seek meaning. Think about it. Every major philosophy, religion, even pop culture storylines come back to the same question. What's the point of all this? Science backs this up. Studies from positive psychology show that people with a strong sense of purpose not only live longer, but they're happier, healthier, and more resilient. Purpose acts like a North Star. It gives your brain direction. Without it, you're wandering. With it, you're unstoppable. Here's a story. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, wrote that the people who endured weren't always the strongest physically, but the ones who had something to live for. A goal, a person, a reason. He called it a why to live for. And once you have a why, you can survive almost anyhow. So, how do you tap into this superpower in your own life? Start with questions that cut deep. What excites me? Who do I want to show up for? What impact do I want to leave behind? Don't overcomplicate it. Purpose doesn't have to mean curing cancer or writing the next great novel. It could be raising your kids to be kind, creating art that makes people feel, or even just showing up as the best version of yourself in small, daily ways. Here's a hack. Try journaling for 5 minutes every morning with this prompt. If today was meaningful, what would I have done? Over time, your brain starts aligning your choices with your deeper values. Purpose isn't about chasing perfection. It's about giving your brain a story bigger than yourself. And when you lock onto that story, all your other superpowers, focus, resilience, creativity, they fall into place because now they have a direction. So yeah, meaning isn't the last hidden superpower. It's the one that ties them all together. And that's the big picture. Your brain isn't just a lump of gray matter. It's a powerhouse with hidden abilities waiting to be unlocked. Neuroplasticity, focus, emotional control, flow, memory, resilience, purpose, all of these are already inside you. The only question is, are you ready to use them? Because in the end, unlocking your brain's hidden superpowers isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming fully you, the sharpest, strongest, most alive version of yourself. And if this journey sparked something in you, then stick around, because here at InnerVerse, we're just getting started. We'll keep diving deeper, uncovering more of the science, stories, and hacks that can change your mind, and maybe even your life. So, if you're ready to keep exploring the InnerVerse, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure you subscribe because your brain is limitless, and this is just the beginning.